Hey everyone, welcome to Fighting Over the Card Catalog, a snarky look back on young adult novels of the 80s and 90s and 1900s. I'm Jess.
I'm Steven, and I'm here to make my wife happy.
We're taking a journey to find out how many terrible and hopefully not so terrible books from somebody's youth I can get us to read before we reconsider this whole marriage. Hi.
Hey, love.
Hi, love. Happy birthday week.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
And to little man as well.
And to little man as well.
And happy Thanksgiving.
And happy Thanksgiving.
All on the same day this year.
Yep. Happy new podcast set up to us.
Oh, yeah. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to us and to all of you. And to all a good night.
Good night.
Good night. Happy Dear Evan Hansen night to us.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we get to go see that because it's finally in Dallas. So anyway, this week's book. We read The Dare Boys of 1776 by Stephen Angus Douglas Cox. Why don't you tell us about it?
The year is 1776. The average belle is educated to about the third grade level. Because who needs an education to pull a plow?
Sure.
Yeah. Anyway, there is no synopsis on the internet, so...
There isn't?
And there's not one on the book. So
No.
That's your synopsis.
Okay, thanks. Great job. So, what'd you think about it?
It was fairly terrible.
Yeah.
The writing style, I don't know how to explain it. How I told it to you was it felt almost like a teacher had given an assignment that somebody had to write a certain amount of pages, and the student just keeps repeating the same thing. Like a single paragraph will be the same thing written 4 different ways. Yeah, that's what it felt like reading this book.
Yeah.
For most of it.
I feel like that's a very good description.
Yeah.
And it's just very stilted and really weird. And it's not that it's a young adult book from the turn of the 20th century. Because, I've read earlier books than that for young adults, children, and it's not bad like that. Like, spoiler alert, next month we're going to read Little Women, and it's nowhere near as bad as
And
that.
it's by a good author. Let's just say that.
It's by a good author, yeah.
And Stephen Angus Cox, he got to write many books, so somebody liked it.
So many.
But, I mean, again, we're talking about a time period, even in the early 1900s. I'm not sure that school was mandatory by that time. Most kids were not educated to...
Yeah, there weren't really child labor laws.
Yeah.
Exactly by then, so no.
So I can see it's just a simplistic book, and it's not that the story's bad; it's not plausible in some senses,
right?
But really, I gotta give it a good 7 on the scale.
I gave it a 6.
Yeah,
because when it did get into like the actual historical stuff. I appreciated that.
Yeah,
that
there were a
fun.
couple of things that were true. I talked about the Battle of Bunker Hill, although it wasn't really Bunker Hill in history.
Right.
It's still called the Battle of Bunker Hill.
And that was just reference, though, anyway.
Right. And then it was the Battle of Long Island. Yeah.
Yep.
But how the people reacted within those battles... and how the accessibility of like General Washington. Yeah, somebody couldn't just walk up and say, "I need to see the general."
We'll get into that.
Yeah.
So I looked up our author, and man, there was not a lot of information on him. The most information I got about him was from his obituary
Oh.
on findagrave.com. If you would like to see his headstone, it's there. Uh, but so the headline for his obituary was, okay, remember his name is Stephen Angus Douglas Cox. S.A.D. Cox, funeral Monday. S.A.D. Cox, funeral
wow.
Monday. I know. Like, come on. So bad.
I wonder if that's why he used the name Dick as his main character.
I know, I thought that too.
Anyway, I had a guy I went to school with whose last name was Cox.
Yeah.
And we had to stand up and introduce ourselves in our speech class.
Mm-hmm.
And he stood up and said, "My name is blank Cox. That's Cox."
Uh-huh. Yeah, I had a girl in 6th grade whose last name was Butts. Butts. And I mean, 6th grade. God. Yeah, I really felt for her. Our man was a newspaper man. He's from Illinois. He was born in 1863. So right in the middle of the Civil War. So he started his work. Well, he started in a dry goods store, and then as a printer, and then he published in the Humboldt Herald, and then in the early 1900s, he accepted a position as an editor for this publishing company. This was before he started writing. He was an editor. He must have been a shitty editor.
Oh, yeah. I mean, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, but he lived until 1943.
Okay.
He was 80. So, yeah, he wrote this whole series. And then he also ghost wrote under the name Henry Moore with some other guy, the Liberty Boys of 76. The Liberty Boys also had stories about girls and women that they were based on real people. So I kind of want to read those. So yeah, he wrote a shit ton dime novels. That's what they are. Yeah, he wrote a shit ton of these things, and I don't know why. Let's get into it. So, picture it: Philadelphia, 1776. The day, July 4th. We meet our boys, Dick and Tom Dare. Dick Dare. They're 18 and 16-year-old strapping young lads from New Jersey. And they're waiting among this crowd of people to learn if the Declaration of Independence has been adopted and signed. So basically, they're like off stage of the musical of 1776, which is great.
So one thing historically about this was that they're waiting for the Continental Congress to tell them if they have adopted the Declaration of Independence.
That is literally what I just...
Yeah. So that was done on July the 3rd.
Yeah.
July the 4th was the day that the Declaration of Independence was released from the printers.
Oh, yeah. And then it was signed out throughout the month.
And mass distributed. And then it was actually signed for years later. There were some people that were not even at the Continental Congress who signed it because they would get elected and they would say, okay, well, I want to sign the Declaration of Independence too. Oh. So there are some people who are on the Declaration of Independence who who were not actually present during the Declaration of Independence.
Was the war at least still going on by the time everybody signed it?
Well, I mean, that was really the technical start of the war. Everything else before that was just rebel actions.
No, I mean, was the war over before people were done signing it? Because you said it was years.
Actually, I don't remember if it was. I think the war might have been over before they did. And the actual Declaration of Independence that was signed,
that's ridiculous.
They did not really protect it. Okay, so I'm wrong. It was actually passed on July the 2nd. And July the 4th was the day they ratified the text.
Ratified, okay.
Yes, and then it went to the printers, and so I think it was after that The copy that is signed is actually a copy and is displayed in the National Archives. I don't know if it was the signed version or the original version that was hung in a storefront.
Mm.
And it hung there until it started fading to where some of it couldn't be read. And then somebody finally took it down and said, hey, maybe we should preserve this.
Mm-hmm. You people had no sense of history.
Yeah.
Damn.
Well, not at the time.
Damn. Y'all starting a whole new nation. What the fuck? Anyway, they're waiting outside, whatever day it is. Probably the 4th, the ratification day. These two Tory assholes.
Oh, just one more thing is when they made copies of this declaration that went out, there was a certain amount of them. It wasn't a whole lot. Printed about 200.
I mean, that's a lot for then.
Of which only 26 have been found.
Oh.
So there are 174 copies that have either been destroyed or are sitting in somebody's attic somewhere. There was actually one discovered.
It can't be that many.
There was actually one discovered in 2017 in Sussex County Council in Chestershire, England. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was the latest one that was found.
Those motherfuckers took it back. Wow. Cool. So these two Tory assholes, Zeke Boggs and Lem Hicks, come up and try to start shit with our good Dare boys. And Tom pushes Lem, and Lem slaps Tom. And so Tom hauls off and punches Lem. And then it's a whole big thing, but not for too long because the crowd is like totes full of other patriots, of course. And so they're all on the Dare Boys side. So the assholes end up leaving. And then after a very long day, word comes that the Liberty Bell can be rung. Huzzah. And everyone celebrates, obviously. And the nationalism sets in real quick, like.
Yeah.
It was certainly a great day for the American people. Without doubt, the greatest in the history of the greatest country on the face of the globe.
Yep. That was 0 days old.
So Zeke, Lem, and two of their Tory buddies surprise them to start more shit while they're on their way home. I can't deal with the phonetic dialogue in this book. I'm not even sure what these guys' accent or whatever are supposed to be. Is it supposed to be English?
I think it's just country.
I mean, didn't everybody have an English accent still at that point? Ish?
It would have been classes. It would have been by class. So
okay.
Those who were given good educations would have been speaking more with an English accent.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we told ye we'd get even with ye, hissed Zach Boggs. You thought ye was mighty smart there in Philadelphia, with everybody on your side and against us. But here, it's different, and we'll beat ye till you'll wish ye never been born. Go for 'em, fellers.
Huh.
It was hard to read. But the Dare Boys handled this no problem too. Like they get hit, but like it only served them to make them settle down to their work with increased vim and determination. And the Tories run away again. So they get home and tell their parents the good news, and everyone is very pleased, even though Mr. Dare is gonna join the Continental Army post-haste. But oh shit, y'all, it turns out the Dares live in a whole Tory neighborhood, and they don't like their neighbors, and their neighbors don't like them.
It sounds almost like when they're talking about neighborhood, like they're talking about counties. Because it's like a whole group of farms, the nearest farms that are to them.
Yeah. So we learned this for sure when a bunch of the neighbors, led by Zeke's dad, come and like sneakily arrest old Papa Dare. So the boys decide that they have no choice but to join the army and try to find him and break him out. And their mother remains very stoic through it all. And then we learn there are some good Tories, the Fosters, and that Dick has a hard-on for Ellie Foster, while Sister Dare, Mary, is into Elsie's twin brother, Ben. And then there's a younger Foster, Lucy, whom we can only assume hooks up with Tom. It's never explicitly said in this one, but you have to figure. Yeah, if there's not a triple wedding somewhere in this series, I'm going to be hella disappointed. So, anyway, Ben comes out to cock block Dick, basically, when he's all flirting with Elsie. And Ben's all, hey, I want to go to war too. Dad's a sensible guy, and he lets people think for themselves. I doubt that extends to Elsie and Lucy, but whatever.
So something I was reading, it was talking about, I think it was real life, but I don't remember what it was. It was something from around this time period, the 1776, 1800 time period, where somebody was doing something against their parents, and it was a show on Netflix, I think, talking about historical. Man, I wish I could remember what it was. Anyway, it talked about the dad going and getting the son and bringing him back before he did too much stuff that his youth couldn't explain. That the impulsiveness of youth couldn't explain. So that kind of reminded me of that with Ben, is that his parents would say, well, he's an impulsive youth.
Oh, yeah, maybe so. So you better believe this book is intended to be educational. Dick will now lecture us. He says, war has really existed for more than a year, Tom. You know, the Battle of Lexington was fought April the 19th of last year, and that was the first battle of the Revolution. And since that, there has been more or less skirmishing between the Minutemen of New England and the British, the most important of these being the Battle of Bunker Hill, which took place on the 17th day of June of last year. And it goes on like that for quite a while to bring us up to present day.
I just visited there in
Boston. I know. So Ben turns up at the Dare house, that with the news that the other Tory boys are going to break into the Dare's house that night and kidnap Tom and Dick and tie them up and whip them. So they seem cool. But of course, the boys are actually all excited about this, and Ben's going to join them. And they send Mom and Mary over to the Foster's house for the night. And Mother continues remaining to be stoic. And, okay, so one Tory shows up at the door to try and make the Dares think, oh, he's the only one. But Ben knows this whole plan, so they don't fall for it. And they basically just yell at each other on either side of the door for an absurdly long time. Like, I'm going to do this to you. And I'm going to do this to you.
I have to tell you, it's like there was one part where he was talking to his dad and it was like, hi, Dad, how are you? Hi, son, how are you? I'm good. Isn't it a great day? Yes, it's a great day. Don't you think it's such a great day? Yes, it's a great day.
It's like a third grader wrote it. I mean...
And it carries on throughout the book like that, including conversations between foes on the opposite sides of the door.
Right. So finally, all the Tories start attacking the door with a log, and the Dares and Ben are getting ready to shoot as soon as the door falls, which they do, and they end up hitting a few of them, and the others they just fucking beat with their muskets. So obviously there's no time to reload. And so again, the Tories run away. And so the next day, the boys all start getting ready to go off to war when Know-It-All Ben comes over again and tells them that Zeke and Lem went off and joined the British Army. And so the three of them like swing their physical dicks around talking about how they're so psyched to go and fight them and kick their asses. And it's a lot of testosterone in this book. Mother remains stoic. when they go off. And so we open the next chapter at Francis Tavern, where so much shit went down, including that's where my shot takes place. Mm. And Washington's there. And yeah, we have to take a my shot break. Thank you. Washington basically gets a hard-on for Dick. General Washington glanced up at this visit as his visitor was announced, and when his eyes took in the handsome face, the fine physique and perfect poise of the youth, he gave a slight start and eyed him keenly and somewhat searchingly, with considerable interest. So that's how this book's going to be. Get ready. So yeah, apparently this is how you signed up for the military. You just go in. Well, there's a, what's he called? Not an aide.
Orderly.
An orderly. You say, hey, I want to talk to Washington. And he goes, okay. And he takes you in and you ask Washington yourself if, hey, can I be in the army? And he's like, well, will your parents let you? I'm not going to let you unless your parents let you. But the dares are like, yes. So he's like, okay, I'll take you both. Welcome. And he assigns them to join Colonel Morgan's regiment. And everybody's really fucking excited.
And they go directly to the colonel and speak to the colonel next.
Uh-huh. As one does, to go get assigned.
That's not how it happens, guys. There are a lot of people in between. And you would never talk to the colonel directly unless he ordered you there for some specific reason, which is very doubtful.
Right. Which, I mean, I assume even then, things were much smaller than now. But yeah, they were based on the British Army, which had things pretty, what's the word?
Orderly.
Yeah, orderly. They had chain of command.
They had regimentation, and everything was regimented. It was when you were assigned to an army, you went to a guy who was specifically in charge of like getting all the equipment together and putting you into groups, and then you would have gone to your regiment, and you would have talked to whoever your what would it have been then? Not
the colonel.
Not a battalion. Anyway, you would have been in your small group talking to your lieutenant, and he would have been in charge of that.
Right.
And they never at one time, it's like even when they're sitting around in their little group together, it's just them. There's no sergeants, there's no lieutenants, anything. It's like they can go off and do whatever they want to.
Right. Pretty much we just see the boys and then colonels and generals.
Yeah.
And orderlies. So anyways, they're excited.
So I'm thinking this guy never served in the military and probably had no
it doesn't
real
say he did.
idea of.
No. Now we are soldiers, sure enough, murmured Tom Dare, his eyes shining. Hurrah! Yes, patriot soldiers, Tom, said Dick quietly. There was an air of satisfaction on his face also. We will be ready to take part in the first battle that takes place, said Ben. Say, that'll be fine. I am eager to be in battle. Okay, so Hamilton would be so pissed if he read this book. He'd probably write 10 books in retaliation. So, because after meeting Dick once, Washington chooses him to do some spy work for him.
Right.
He's to go to Long Island where the British ships are and learn how many men there are and what the plans of the British commander-in-chief are. No biggie. It's fine.
I mean, it sounds like a teenage fantasy, It's like...
Right?
It was Warwick Davis, and he was Willow.
Yes.
In Willow, they're like walking around, and they're like, and they'll give us medals, and they're just, and they're like fantasizing about what's going to happen, and that's exactly what this book is like.
Yes, except this man was 37-ish, yes. My age-ish, when he wrote this. Whatever.
We'll fight the British and we'll win, and they'll give us medals.
So the other boys are like hella excited for Dick, including their new friends who are Dutch and Irish, whose accents are very, very difficult to read. Like when they're talking later, I just couldn't even read what they were saying. It was awful. So this next chapter is slow and weird. Dick goes to Brooklyn Heights first and meets General Putnam there.
Directly to the general.
Who can help him out. And he at least puts him up for 3 entire days while it rains. And at first I thought there was no reason for this, but there is a little bit later. So but it's a pretty slow chapter. So once it stops raining, he makes out toward the British. And of course, he's really excited until he hears voices of British soldiers. And then they hear him. And they discuss what's going to go on in this. It's an example of the horrible stilted writing. "Let's go investigate, comrade," Dick heard a voice say. And then he heard another in reply. "All right, if there is anybody around here, we will either run him down or frighten him out of his boots." "That's what we will do, comrade. And I feel confident there is somebody near here." "What else would make the noise that we heard?" "I don't know, comrade. I think it likely that somebody is about. I am positive, sure of it as can be." "Well, come on then. Let's search all around. We ought to be able to lay him by the heels, for we can hear him if he tries to run away." "True. Come, comrade. We'll quickly have the fellow if he's here." It's so bad.
So bad.
And what's with all the comrade stuff?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
it might have been a thing, but I've never heard it before.
I've never heard that either. I was going to ask you, have you ever heard of people in the British Army calling them each other comrades?
No, and we both read and watch a lot of historical fiction.
And I mean, this was 1910, so it wasn't like, maybe
the communists were just starting?
Yeah, I bet they were because when did the whole thing with Russia happen?
The revolution happened in 1917.
Oh.
The Russian Revolution. So, I mean, the communists were starting up before then, you know.
Yeah, I don't know that it
but
would
I
have been
doubt
a big
it
thing.
would be, known in Illinois.
I don't know.
So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know the origin of comrade, really. I mean, I only know it in context of communism, but... Right. So anyway, Dick tries to run, and one of them shoots, and Dick falls. Back at camp.
So you're saying they shot Dick?
They shot Dick. Hey, if you've been enjoying our show, please share it, tweet it, tell your friends and enemies. Word of mouth is the best way for podcasts to grow, and we would just really appreciate it. I know if you're listening, you probably have some bookworm friends from back in the day who would love to reminisce with us. Please consider rating us on Apple Podcasts and subscribing there, or at any of your favorite podcast places of choice. Come hang out with us on Facebook, Instagram, Tumblr, YouTube, Pinterest, all at Fighting Over the Card Catalog, and on Twitter at Card Catalog Pod, and me, personally, at Just Digress. And last but not least, check out our website where you can find all the things I just mentioned. Back at camp, now Tom goes to see Washington. Because remember, that's just a thing apparently anyone can do. And he's very impressed that there are 2 dare boys in this army, though. And so Tom asks if he can go join Dick, because they promised their mom, who I'm sure is remaining stoic still, that they'd stay by the other side. And Washington's like, well, you could really fuck up this whole spy thing, but you did promise your mom. So, yeah, you better go. I'm sure Washington totes did stuff like that.
Oh, yeah. Don't you know?
Oh, yeah. Go he does to Brooklyn Heights first and meets Putnam, of course. And he says Dick left like an hour before. And so that was the point of the rain, I suppose.
Yeah, to hold him up.
Yeah.
Until Tom started missing his brother. So
Tom heads off in the same direction and hears a gunshot. Instantly, Tom was greatly excited. The thought came to him at once that a redcoat had fired that shot and that it had been fired at Dick. And with wildly beating heart, he ran forward, at the same time drawing a pistol from his belt. Tom was excited. but not at all frightened. His only fear was that perhaps Dick had been wounded or killed by the bullet from the musket, and he was eager to get a shot at the person who had just done the shooting. Boy, so he's just excited about this and not really concerned that his brother might have just been shot.
Right.
Possibly killed. But then he hears these two guys talking shit about shooting a rebel. And so he shoots at one of them, and he makes them think they're surrounded by, yelling.
He pulls out another gun.
Guys.
He pulls out his pistol, fires a pistol, and starts yelling, "Come on, guys, let's get them."
So they get scared and they run away. There is so much British running away in this.
Yeah, and let's talk about this. These are sentries that were fired at.
Right.
So right now there have been 3 shots.
Yes.
Nobody from the camp comes to investigate.
No.
At any time during this whole thing,
it's just them.
They just run away. It's like they ran away just away. They didn't run back to the camp and tell anybody that, hey, there's a group of guys
Apparently
and they're coming.
Not. No.
Yeah. Very, very bad writing.
Yeah. So Tom yells out, "Dick! Oh, Dick!" And they spent an entire page of Tom explaining why he's there before he asks if Dick is wounded. He wasn't, though. He just tripped over a vine. But so they see the British encampment a way off, and Dick says he's just going to walk right up and tell him he wants to fight for the king. And Tom is to stay there and not get caught.
So that was his big plan.
That was his big plan.
And instead of walking up to the sentries and telling them this to begin with,
right,
he runs away from them and then decides, after the guys have already run away, like not knowing if they ran back to the place,
right,
and
say, "Hey, some fucker shot at us.
This guy is coming right directly where somebody just shot at us, and we shot at somebody running away." No,
it's fine.
No, it's fine though. Don't think about that too hard.
No. So Dick does exactly this, and he says his name is Harry Fuller. And he gets in to see the commander as easily as he did Washington.
Of course he did.
And is assigned a regiment. So there's an awful lot of talk in this entire book, both with the British and with Washington, about how 18 is very young to join the army.
Yes.
That
is not the
buck
case.
wild. Yeah, because, they want you at 18.
Yeah.
Now. So, yeah, I thought that was really interesting.
At this time, you could go work in a mine at the age of 13.
Right.
Yes.
But you couldn't join the army. Well, you could.
You could join the army,
but
at 13.
They just thought you were.
You would join as like a drummer boy.
Right. Oh, man, that's a book we got to read. Oh, I can't remember the name of it. Anyway, it was a book about a drummer kid.
So 18 was young to the author, and he put that on other people as well.
Sure. Okay, maybe so. So now Dick gets into a dick-swinging conversation with another soldier, Coggins. But Coggins is an asshole, so nobody else likes him. And so they like Dick for standing up to him a bit. They go to bathe, and Dick asks about these ship hulks. And they learn there are some rebel prisoners in there.
So I kept thinking his getting into it with that one guy was going to come back somehow.
I did too. I honestly didn't realize until I was just reading that no.
There is no mention of that guy again.
No, maybe in another book later. But yeah, maybe. It definitely seems like it's leading up to something, and it's like we never hear from him again.
Yeah.
So yeah, he learns there are some rebel prisoners in these hulks. Among them are 3 or 4 rebel spies who will likely be shot or hanged sooner or later. Dick's heart thrilled as he heard this news. Perhaps he might be able to rescue all those poor, suffering Patriot prisoners. That's a weird first thought to have after hearing your dad might possibly be in there and be killed, but do you, I guess, Dick? Y'all are too young for this. Dick easily learns what he was sent to learn, that there are 24,000 British 25,000 British soldiers there. But they don't have any plans to attack soon. So Dick figures that his job is done.
Troops in.
See, the song is 32.
Yep.
Yeah. I was confused by that because I looked it up. Anyway, so he figures his job is done and he starts thinking about heading out and back to the Patriot side. But then he sees some soldiers coming into camp, and among them is Tom. Dumbass went and got himself captured, the one thing he was supposed to not do. I'll have to begin by rescuing Tom, I guess, was Dick's thought. Yeah, I guess so, Doc. Yeah. So Tom is not the swiftest thinker. He's taken to the general, of course, and gives his real name, that he's actually from New Jersey, and he's just there to see the army because he's never seen one before. The general obviously does not believe this, and he assumes he's a rebel spy, and he sends him off to the prison. I don't like this, Tom murmured. I mean, yeah, Tom. So Dick gets permission from the commander to go for a walk because
like you
obviously, but this is how he leaves the British Army. It's just that easy. Then just as easily, he takes a rowboat out to the Hulk and he just like fucking strangles two officers on it into unconsciousness.
He straight up chokes people.
I mean, he doesn't kill them.
It says, but I mean, you squeeze somebody's windpipe for 3 minutes. Yeah, I mean, you may suffocate them and that's it.
But anyway.
No, according to the book, this is a teenage book, so.
I guess. He locks him up in a room.
But how many teenagers, after reading this book, then went out and choked people?
I don't know. I don't have any numbers on that. So then he goes down into the hatch and releases Tom and 11 other patriots. Papa Dare isn't there, by the way. And they escape into a rowboat, but they see the Brits coming their way from shore. But it's all fine. They get back to shore. They get to shore, a different shore. Get back to their own camp, and Washington fawns all over Dick some more. And then he decides to send Dick back towards the British camp to learn what he can. And he spends a whole day in a tree, under which different groups of soldiers sit and talk, including the Dare Boys' old enemies, Zeke and Lem. And they let slip that the British are planning on attacking Brooklyn Heights on the 24th. This is of August of 1776, by the way. So Dick relays this info to Washington, and so he sends 3,000 troops over to Brooklyn Heights, including the Dare Boys Regiment. However, no attack ends up coming, so they just hang out and get bored. Okay, and then we have this stupid-ass chapter about a haunted house nearby, which Tom and this little boy Jackie, who's been following him, have to go into when it starts storming, and they see some green eyes, but it's obviously just a cat. And Jackie's dad finds them, and they're super grateful to Tom and give him some apples. And I said, this chapter better pay off somehow. It does not.
Nope. It was just to fill pages. It was like, well, shit. I've already got my whole story, but I need to make another 10 pages. So what can I do? Haunted house. That's it.
There was no point to this chapter whatsoever. And like, I hadn't read up to this part yet when you were reading it in bed. And I just saw the chapter heading and I was like, oh no, I bet he's getting mad. But they didn't even believe there were ghosts. Like, it was just rumor that this place was haunted, but Tom's like, I don't believe in ghosts, and he never did. He just got a little spooked by the cat. They're all getting pretty bored, just waiting around, so Washington sends Dick back to his tree to learn some more. And this is very boring. Until a British soldier surprises him while he's down on the ground eating, and he begins to take him to camp, but Dick just strangles this guy. And ties him up and hides him in some bushes.
Let's see if I can find this picture. I mean, it's really like, this is not how a fight works. The only way, so far as he could see, was to engage the soldier in a struggle and overpower him, and as the redcoat looked like a pretty husky fellow, this would likely not be an easy thing to accomplish. But Dick was more than ordinarily strong, and he was quick and athletic and a good wrestler, and he believed he could overpower the soldier. He felt confident he could do so if he could succeed in taking the redcoat by surprise. Dick rose to his feet slowly and quietly. His actions were such as would cause the redcoat to think he did not contemplate offering any resistance, and this was done purposely, so as to throw the redcoat off his guard, and it worked that way, for the soldier, with a careless wave of the hand, said, "March along in front of me to the encampment, young fellow." But Dick did not march as ordered to do. Instead, he suddenly leaped upon the amazed soldier and seized him by the throat so as to prevent his crying out, tripped him, throwing him to the ground heavily, and then seated astride the redcoat's body and holding him pinned to the earth in spite of his struggle. The soldier was a pretty strong man, but he had been taken at a disadvantage and by surprise, and so was not in a position to exercise his full powers. And the result was that although only a youth of 18 years, Dick managed to choke the soldier into a state of insensibility in a very few minutes. I mean, I've had my brother sitting on my chest holding my arms down, not like in a life or death struggle.
Yeah.
And I've been able to throw him off of me.
But he wasn't strangling you as an 18-year-old strapping young lad.
Yeah, I would have been going a lot harder if he had.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Don't think about it.
Don't think about it. So he gets back safely up into his tree when more soldiers come along to sit and chat. This must be a really good tree, by the by.
So it's like a cluster of trees, I'm guessing, like a little woods.
Right.
And to get out of the heat, they come and sit in these little woods.
Yeah. So he does learn that they're planning to attack soon. It's not specific, but he does get this confirmation. They also find this other soldier who lies and says Dick was way bigger than he was, to not lose face. And Dick heads back that night to tell the news, and the rebels begin preparing. They hear the British attack another regiment, and Dick actually goes to ask their general, Putnam, if he and his buddies can go fight with them, Sullivan's regiment. And Putnam's like, "No, my dude, obviously not. That's not how the army works." But he does tell Dick, if there are any messages that need to be sent, I'll use y'all. Right. Here I took a break from reading and I had to jam to Right Hand Man because this is basically where this happens. And then I got very distracted looking at maps from the battles. Like, I found a really great one that covers the whole New York campaign.
Okay.
And it's very interesting. So, yeah, at this point, Spotify was still playing Lin-Manuel Miranda stuff, and it played the title song from In the Heights, and I had to sing that to the dogs. And so it took me like an hour to get back to this last chapter, which was the most interesting chapter in the book because it was true and real history stuff, except for the dares. So basically, there were 3 regiments: Putnam's, which the Dare Boys are in, Sullivan, and Stirling. And so the British fuck up Sullivan's right away, pretty much, attacking them from the front and the rear. So Putnam sends Dick with a note to Stirling to tell him to retreat. On the way, Dick sees some British soldiers and he has to hide in a hollow tree. And they come very close, and it's very suspenseful, but they don't ever find Dick. And apparently this is just to show us how brave Dick is.
Yeah, I guess.
So Dick delivers the message, and Stirling's like, "Cool, we'll retreat." And Dick heads back, but he turns to see the British attack the Stirling regiment and capture Stirling. But most of the regiment does make it to join Putnam. And Putnam's hella cool guy. When he tells him that Stirling's been captured, he goes, "That is bad. Well, it cannot be helped. Cool, cool. But I looked him up, and Sterling does end up okay. He's released in a prisoner exchange, and he goes on to fight many more battles in the war. So,
okay.
Yeah. So the British get right up to Brooklyn Heights, and instead of storming the defenses, they surround the Patriots, like from the south at the East River, and then like all the way up in a semicircle kind of around them, to the north of them on the river. And this is where we have the part from Right Hand Man. The any hope of success is fleeting. How can I keep leading when the people I'm leading keep retreating? We put a stop to the bleeding as the British take Brooklyn. Knights took Rook, but look, we are outgunned. What? Outman? What? That's where that part comes from.
Nice.
This is not, however, when Hamilton steals their cannons. That actually happened the year before in 1775.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. Anyway. So Washington decides that, yeah, this is pretty bad now. And so on the night of August 29th, he sneaks the entire freaking army and all of their shit, like their provisions and their guns and everything, across the river to Manhattan without the British knowing. So this is apparently one of like the greatest military maneuvers in history, like for real. The book fails to mention, however, that this was done under cover of a nor'easter, big old storm. Yeah. But it's still a pretty dope move. Nothing was left, and when next morning the British looked up at the works from the heights, they were amazed to see no signs of life. For so silently and cautiously had the Patriots worked during the night that the British had not gotten an inkling of the movement. The redcoats pushed up the hill and climbed over the works, only to stare around in dismay. Nothing was left of the big army that had been there only the evening before. It's great job, Washington. But General Howe, the British general, he actually tries to make peace at this point.
Yeah.
But Washington's like, nah, bro. And so it ends up with the British taking over New York. And the Patriots retreat up to Harlem. And there, Washington gives a very stirring speech. And the boys nearly cream themselves over this. I'll tell you what, boys, said Tom Dare. It was wonderful the way General Washington talked, wasn't it? Yes, Tom, agreed Dick, and we'll come up to his expectations too, or know the reason why. And in enthusiastic unison, Tom and Ben exclaimed, yes, yes, that we will, Dick. And when the time came, they kept their word. The end. For now, because there are 11 more books in this series.
How? I mean, I guess they were just really hurting for entertainment.
I mean, it was 1910. There was a lot of shit going on then, I don't think. I mean, I like that last chapter.
For the most part, I mean, it was pretty freaking unrealistic.
Yeah.
Hey, General, can we go down there and fight?
That kills me. Especially the fact, I mean, it like really stresses the fact that Sterling's regiment was saved because Dick Dare went and took this note. And I'm pretty sure that's not actually what happened in history. Dick Dare, but
you don't know.
I don't know. I should research that more, I guess. See how that really happened. But yeah. So do you want to read any more?
Not particularly.
I mean, we have one. It's not the next book.
Again, not particularly.
Not particularly? Wow. Okay.
Sorry, I mean, Dares. It's good to snark at, I guess. It's just painful to read.
It was... I mean, if there's...
That's the really shitty thing about this podcast. Like, if it's a good book, it may not be that great of an episode.
Right. Not such great content for the pod.
Yeah, which isn't great for me. I think the main thing is for me not to like the books and still have to read them and talk about them.
Right, which is great for me.
Which is not great for me.
So, like, neither way is good for you.
Right.
Cool. What else have you been reading?
I finished the Expanse book, Caliban's War.
Mm-hmm.
There was enough new stuff and stuff that happened a little bit differently that was a little surprising. And but man, really, really good writing, really good book.
Especially compared to this.
Especially compared to this. And I'll definitely continue with the series, and if they keep being good, I'll look at any other books that he's written. And then I've started the second book of that monster tattoo, I think so. Called Lamplighter. The book's called Lamplighter by D.M. Cornish, and it's been good so far. So that's what I'm currently on.
Cool. But you're off for the rest of the week, so you're probably not going to read or listen to a ton.
I'll probably work on my desk a little bit tomorrow, so I'll listen to a little bit. But
so I am now on book 4 of this crazy Harry Potter series. It's called The Goblet of Fire. And yeah, I'm not terribly far into it, but there's some scary shit going on. It looks like the bad guy who almost killed Harry might be coming back or something. Like, there was this big old scary skull and snake shot up into the sky. And everybody's like, that's really bad. That's what happened back in the day when who was in his power and everybody was dying. So everybody's real freaked out. That's where I am right now.
Interesting.
So next week, we're going to get back to the Babysitters Club with Claudia and the new girl. Yay. Yay. So, well, tomorrow, as we're recording this, it is Thanksgiving, and this episode will come out on Thanksgiving. So tell me, are you thankful for anything about this podcast?
I'm thankful that I get to spend time with you.
Okay, that's good. I'm grateful for pretty much every part of it, except, it's funny how much you hate it. But I feel a little bad about it. But it is the concept of the show, so. But yes, I like doing something creative with you. It's fun.
It'd be even more fun.
Not doing it.
If we had a podcast of something we both enjoyed.
Well, look, why don't you come up with another podcast?
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
How about a podcast where we test very fast vehicles and you ride along? We do the podcast while we're driving.
That would have to be a video podcast, I think. Okay, well, maybe I'll record tonight driving to downtown. Y'all, it's my most stressful time. It is so terrible, especially after shows, because he tries to get home. So it's not as much traffic, but he gets home like. See, I'm getting all anxious already. Like, we're gonna be late for something, and tonight you don't even have work tomorrow. You're still gonna be. Oh, and there's going to be Black Friday sales starting tonight at 9. Online sale. That's all we do. If you're in the U.S., have a good and safe Thanksgiving. But don't forget that white people coming here just led to genocide of indigenous people. Make sure to tell the kids that. And if you're hosting Thanksgiving, do what George Takei suggested on Twitter this week and change your Wi-Fi password to impeach45. And if you're going to a conservative relative's house, put a child block on Fox News, and I'll be really grateful for your work. And you can have some extra pie. If you're not in the U.S., well, good job. Have a totally normal but nice day, and y'all can have some pie too. Everyone have pie.
I had a conservative ask me why liberals didn't just move to other countries.
Because it's just that easy, dog.
And I replied that the other countries don't want people from shithole countries coming.
Did you really?
I did.
Was this in person?
Yes, this was in person.
At work?
Yes, it was at work.
Wow, look at you. I'm so proud. You can have extra pie. Just kidding, you totally can. Because it's your birthday, so everyone go wish Steven and our dog Little Man happy birthday on our social medias. We're rereading the books through childhood.
So you don't have to.
Bye, everybody.
Goodbye.